just like the airport staff.
Yeah.
And ask for adoption of the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the previous minutes has just been passed out. You might or might not have a chance to read it, but I'll give you a minute to do so. And at your leisure, we'll ask for a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Public input. No one?
You didn't get it.
Ray, you want to be in public input?
Negative,
Okay.
but thank you for the offer.
How about committee and authority members' reports?
I'm going to go to Treasury reports. Passed out to you just a moment ago, the reports for the year end 2017. We didn't have those at the last meeting. They weren't completed. We've got them now. I also have behind that January and February reports. So we'll give you guys a minute to look over. Let me know if you have questions, and between myself and Randy, we will try to answer them.
All right, any questions, Fred, on the financial report? All right, we will note those as reviewed. Excellent. Airport manager.
Yes, we had an outstanding January. We closed off the year because of weather not as high as we would like to have. However, we didn't have to buy any more fuel going out, closing out the year to keep costs down. FYI, Wednesday night, we have another military sale anticipated and scheduled. So we're not, probably won't have the fuel sale we had in January, that 23,000 gallons of fuel. But it's picked up already this month. The weather's just got to cooperate. We've had some horrific weather in the last few days. We are sitting nice on our inventory for the March sheet of Jet A and 100 low lead. We did raise the price of 100 low lead to both transit and local to offset some costs. And nice to look at the financial report and see we're already 16% of revenue for the year just because we had a great January, February. I'm looking forward to seeing hangars and more aircraft this year. I'm just all of Twitter. That's all I got so far. We do, one other item, we do have a couple of maintenance issues this year. Our 100 low lead and our 100-foot Jet A refill hoses are expiring on their shelf life of 8 years, so there'll be about an $800 charge to replace both hoses. We've already changed out the refueler hose for the Jet A tank, and our lease is doing well for our our Jet A truck. So, Air Methods has been kind of grounded lately, but they flew again today. So that's picking back up. When the weather turns, we anticipate a lot more people flying. Sorry.
Randy, one question for you. The ramp that you guys were building over there, haven't seen rails on top of that yet and all the pickets and things?
Yes, we got rid of the coat machine last night at 8 o'clock. So now we got a clear path and we have the 6x6s to finish it off. By next week, they'll be painted and up and safetied.
Good.
Yes, excellent point. Thank you. We just got rid of it last night.
Okay.
Heavy.
All right. Anything else for,
Committee report, I met with the engineering team last week, talking about just brainstorming on new terminal. You'd asked me to get with these guys and start that process. We had one session, a couple of hours on Friday last week. We've got a couple more that will get booked up and come back with some recommendations. It won't be final plans, it won't be style or anything. What we're trying to figure out right now is how much square footage we need, what usage space we need, so we can then begin to pull that back into an actual design. So have started that process.
anything else? Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Phil?
Thank you.
First thing we got is the T-hangers. We did open that bid that y'all authorized. We passed along that bid tab information. In totality of all the costs, you're at about 1,378. Don's got those numbers. There's some deductions I think we can make on some of the drainage items, but that would offset some of the oversight on construction. So basically that gives us a number that we can go to the bank with and start to chase. Steel prices went up in January. It's impacting us about 50 grand, and it looks like they could go up again. So if we look at this real quick and are able to lock in with the supplier the price that we have currently, then we'd be in great shape. So
How long do you think we have to lock that price in?
probably 2 weeks, but I think you're likely, you're close to the original budget. So I think what we would do is we'd say, hey, that looks like that's going to happen. We'll wait for a final from your feedback and then lock it in. But we'll start preparing the items for that to go forward. So barring anything unforeseen that y'all get back, then we'll be able to drive that forward. So we'll start doing the things that they would see us doing normally, and then you'll have we'll do a check-in in a couple of weeks as kind of a final along. That's how we'll proceed. If that's okay, if that happens and the funding looks like that's fine, the next thing we'll do is sign an actual contract with them, and then they'll order the steel, and that puts you on a schedule that's about 6 months, roughly, about 3 months to get the steel. Yeah, from the time you sign the contract. So if you signed in 30 days, probably 60, 6 months beyond that. About 90 days to get the building, about 90 days to get it out the road. Site work would all be happening while you're waiting on steel.
I had emailed that cost sheet out to y'all Friday, and I also went back, and I don't know if you remember when we originally looked at the $1.2 million number, I had done a grid that showed the construction period and then the starting of the repayment period, and us applying some of our 150 a year grant to that. I went back and replugged those numbers in, printed it off, and it is laying on my desk. But the way the numbers look, I took the $1,378,000 instead of the $1,200,000. Adjusted prime for how prime has changed. I think it ticked up a quarter since then. And if you remember, I accelerated that, or counted for some increases over the years, seeing that we think we're in a rising rate environment. The original, we said, with allocating the ad valorem, a portion of the additional increase in fuel cells, and the actual rent to a payment. So it will have to get with Fay to make sure in the budgets going forward that the county's budgets, that we can allocate some of those dollars towards that payment amount. But it took the repayment, I think originally we figured 8 years based on those things, and with the additional amounts it extended it to 9 years. Okay, still very reasonable, I think, compared to
For a 30-year life
of
asset, like 30 plus, so.
And that's for your, that's just for airport value, only economic impact of that, and also justification towards grants is valuable. So there's other side. I think maybe the last time we ran it out, the jumbo versus the standard T size, that was pretty conservative on that application compared with some of the earlier versions too. So I think you're in a good place.
So what's the next step then, Don?
I also scanned that in to send it out to the banks that were interested in looking at it, and didn't forward that email today. It's been Monday. But I will do that first thing in the morning and get them re-looking at that higher amount with that kind of change in amortization, not really change in amortization, but expected change in repayment period. Because we would still ask them to put it on 15-year amortization, and we just accelerate that by whatever grant we can apply to it.
Right.
And I had communicated the rebid to them and that we expected it to come in higher, so it won't be a surprise to them. I think if we just approve tonight this higher bid amount, then our next 3 steps would be to get it in front of the banks, which I'll do tomorrow. Then we've also got to have approval by Development Authority because they'll have to issue the debt. And also the commissioners will have to approve because I'm sure whoever does the bond will require the 1 mil pledge and tri-county, the intergovernmental agreement, which is kind of the standard in our borrowings. So those are the 3 steps to take. Obviously, commissioners meet Thursday. So it's not gonna happen by then, but I would think we will have heard back from the banks in time for the next Development Authority meeting to be able to give them the terms, and approve it there, and then approve it at the April Commissioners meeting. Now, at some point in this process, we will probably have a good enough feel for whether or not all those things are gonna happen to be able to lock it in.
Yeah, so the 1, 3, 7, 8 totality included design stuff on the front, that's the entire debt for the whole thing. What we'll do, and anticipate, because you're not signing anything yet at that point, but we'll prepare those contracts and get them off to the contractor. That's standard, they would sign first, they prepare their bonds and put all that together. So as they follow that arc, then by the time that plays out, you guys will be right about the point where you're locking it in. So we'll tell them, we'll give them a heads up that that's what the planned approach is going to be.
The actual borrowing amount, what I had figured was, it was right under 100,000 between bond issuance cost and interest carried during construction. So that'll add almost 100,000 to the actual, what we need a commitment amount from the banks. So, could we entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve to move forward on the bids.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Only other thing, other than anything you've got to talk about related to hangars, is the, I don't know if you want to approve that spot for the Fontaine hangar. I think that's approved in Development Authority, not approved from the Airport Authority.
Yep. I had also sent out both, I think y'all have all got the layout, I've got a copy if you need it, as well as the Fontaine's first response on kind of the Exhibit A items. But the primary is just to approve that, that spot. And we I did that by phone because he was moving forward quickly. But just to formally approve that, we'll entertain a motion. But it is that southeast corner that we're talking about.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the next is, Phil, I'm interrupting you. Do you have?
No, nothing
I was
else.
just while we were talking about layout.
That's it, no, we're good
Okay.
other than that. Sent the, for Ed, sent the interior layout or dimensions of those hangars. So if you look at that, if you need anything additional.
I have a copy of that here if anybody wants to see it. What I wanted to check was that on the large T hangars that we can accommodate the larger twins, the piston twins, and even potentially some of the smaller turbines. And it looks like we could from the numbers I ran today. I ran it against a Navajo and a Cessna 421, and some of those airplanes in the larger T hangars accommodate that. They'll run at a higher price. We do have some demand for some of those airplanes coming on the field, so it'd be nice to have space that we can actually put them in. So I'm good with it. Thank you.
All right, the other item is, since we're talking about the airport layout and the space there, is Eric Broadwell's request. He had redrawn what he wants and where he wants. I've just handed that, Jerry, to you and David, and I think Randy. Ed got it via email over the weekend. The one he handed to you is a little easier to read. What he has measured from is from the stakes, Phil, that you had laid out for fine tuning.
And yeah, those are me with the wheels. So those are
Yeah,
not-
and we understand that. We understand when we're talking this layout, it has not been surveyed.
And that's the
It's-
corner of the building, so behind that, he's got parking as well, that just
Yeah.
shows the building, so there's more,
Yeah.
of a bigger space then.
But I'm just talking conceptually, what we're talking about is butting up to that,
Correct. That's what you-
to Fonte's side.
On the south side of that taxiway.
Yeah. Would, rather than me reading, would you like to talk about what you're talking about building?
Sure, it's, basically on the south side would butt up against that front portion that's already reserved. And it would be two identical buildings that are opposite, 12-foot doors, all of them 60 feet deep, with the center section being 60 foot wide. And then the center building would be two back-to-back buildings with the two at 16-foot doors, where the 60 by 60s would be in the center accommodating a King Air. So you'd have two spots for King Airs. And then the edge slots on that center building would be the same as the outside, 60 deep, 50 wide. And it is potential. I met with the building manufacturer that I've selected on Friday, and he said in other places that he's done this, people have actually purchased the whole front and back,
Yeah.
and left the center section out so you could actually have a pass-through. And so there's some potential for, more activity coming in from that perspective. And there would be parking right off the road, and it'd be a straight apron and a push out onto the taxiway. So,
Does anybody have any questions for him?
there is a storm grate, as you look at the picture in the lower right-hand corner. So if Phil, if the layout goes a little further than the stakes that are out there, then that might actually be helpful, because it would slide us a little
Yeah,
bit
so
further
the
west.
stakes are the building itself, so he's got parking behind that, so it's significantly past the stakes. The parking space are about 19 feet deep, right,
Okay.
behind that, so you're.
Well, then that actually helps, because from the hatching, I was kind of eyeballing it. It looked like the stakes were lining up with the way the hatching was on the drawing that you'd sent me, that you were just showing there. And so I was eyeballing that, but the further west we go, the more favorable it makes it for us to get away from that storm grate. And that's the only issue that I see.
Okay. Not knowing any of this, is there going to be, do you think there'll be usable space?
Beyond,
Can we see that? Is it, Eric, how close is this back edge to the road that he's in?
So if you see that green line on the lower side, And it's a 30-foot offset from the edge of the road.
For, the question is there a space to the Keller property,
Yes.
basically?
Yes.
So, I can't tell from this drawing.
Yeah.
If you, if you've got something that has I see dimensions on there, but I can't see how big those are.
Right, I can say
Yeah,
yes.
if you can send something with that, then we can answer that.
So you drop it into the site plan.
Yeah.
It's gotta come in.
Parts of
That's
it.
Right, that's why if we go west, it's
So
up
that's the center of it, then
so another 19, 20 feet will get out of that curve.
there's a whole bunch of that.
And I don't know if I was guessing at 30 feet, I didn't know if the right away off the edge of the road was normally 60 feet from the center line, so.
Yeah, just that, in that sketch, it shows the parking in there,
Right.
in the right of way, so you'd have to pull that. You'd have to do this.
It would help.
Just
Right, right, get a variance or whatever.
You can straighten that road.
10 foot right there make a lot of difference.
And you could put that budding up to the edge of the building as well, so.
Like she,
Probably
first,
first, we could put, on the western edge,
they don't have anything.
hook right up to that building with the park.
Yeah, so we could go more
Like
on
no
the
perspective.
western side to the building if we wanted.
So you have adequate parking for those using the hangars.
I just wanted to get the concept out there, because, finished it Sunday, and sent it to her right when I was finished, so.
So, Phil, based on this, have you had a chance to review this? Have you seen this at all? So you don't know where we are with
Well, actually,
the addendum,
actually,
what's the term I'm
it's
looking
gonna
for
have to
here?
be.
Exhibit A.
Straighten this out.
We'll have to review it and see whether all of Exhibit A, the first 5 things I think it is, that we were looking for before, are completed there. So give us a chance to review that,
Yeah,
and we'll come back to you in principle, looks good to me.
and the site that's all the way on the far eastern side of that, you call it Fontaine? Is that-
Fontaine. Yeah, it's
What are they building?
100 by 120.
Yeah, about, maybe
It's
possibly
changed a little bit. It's
125.
100 to a-
Depth is 100, about 125. There's a little bit of a back corner, that's a question, but when because that's been approved, since he's got Exhibit A stuff in, I think we're probably at a point, with that approved, I'll just get with you, because you don't need to prove that from the survey that was done included laying in several of these, we call them lot lines, not FA terms, but so with Fonte's sketch approved and with the Exhibit A stuff he's sending, then that line, we'll work to the surveyor to get that line laid in, then that does his little boundary for the lease in the square footage. That then will define the boundary that Eric can pick up with this layout. And then he can find how much he wants, and then that'll define that boundary.
Okay.
Once you get
Commission,
Exhibit A stuff.
Randy had said there was some discussion of straightening that road out to give him some room for a parking area.
There was some discussion, I didn't take it far.
Because there's wasted space on the corner. You said we got what, 15, 30 foot on the backside, so right away?
The road itself's got 6 foot right of way,
Straight.
so you got 30 foot center line either way.
Right, and
Because we don't
I
have
took
anywhere.
30 foot from the edge.
Yeah, and it eats up, the way that road curves a bit, if we get the right people that wanna be there, it's feasible, we can straighten that out, make that part of the leasable property on the other side, possible.
The property that's on the other side of the road, up next to Ed Marger's house where you got that big pond in there.
Yes.
Who owns that property there?
I thought it was Ed Marger.
I was gonna say, I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Because Ed Marger's the one that talked to Lee Mullins about the silt fence that wasn't installed and was when it was
That was during the.
way back in the
grading
day.
period,
Right. And the airport probably has, you said 30 feet off of that road
Yeah.
going to
I didn't
the,
know, I could remember if the airport owned the property in front of Ed Marger's all the way up to the road going to up to Salem.
I think we do, all the way up to
I
the,
think
we got a little sliver.
did we eminent domain all the way up to the fence? To his split rail fence?
I guess where I'm going at, if the county or the airport owns that property, if the airport owns that property.
Yes.
Man can make parking over there and just put a crosswalk in.
There you go. That might save you some.
Good thought.
I think there is a little thin wedge
You know,
over there.
I can't remember how much, it should be enough for some cars.
Oh, yeah.
Just put a crosswalk in, no more traffic than right there, and people could park on that side of the road, not across those hangers, either or.
So if there's parking up along that edge, it's also possible to
Make it hangers.
add the other half. Just parking on all the same entrance on that same side.
True.
And we just eliminate the one down there.
Well, if you put parking on the other side, then you don't have to straighten the road out. Like that convention.
I like that. See where you going? I know it kicked in eventually, I know you
I
lost
mean, the
hours of
road's
sleep.
already there, why, you know, right?
Trying to find it on Q Public.
I can't stay this time. Did we get reimbursed yet for the rotating beacon?
Too slow.
Did the county
I'll give
move
up.
money back for moving?
All right.
trailer?
Phil, any other business from you? Reports, updates?
All good, we got good things going on. We did just, Rob can speak to that, but we just, did a, airport talk at the Rotary last week.
Yes, we did.
We did? Yeah, we did. That went well?
That went well.
I think pretty good.
Phil represented y'all very well.
Commissioners
That's what I
remarks.
guess.
Oh, now you ready for me?
Yeah. Now,
Actually,
now you can talk.
That's a great segue, yes.
Actually, I want to thank y'all for winding your clocks ahead 1 hour, so I see y'all made it on time tonight. I really appreciate that. Randy had called me the other day about
Oh,
a hole y'all got over there. The road department's going to be working on that. I met with Randy on that, trying to get that particular item fixed over there. He can show you where it's at. Just don't fall in. That's a pretty good size wash we've got over there. That just sprung up for whatever reason, but Kim Quint's gonna take care of that. Phil did speak at Rotary last week, wish y'all would've been there, he did a very good job and promoted the commercial benefit of the airport and the economic growth that we're looking at for the future. Hopefully it's gonna be quicker than we think. I'm finally since I inherited that thing in 2005, I'm really tickled that hopefully we can get something actually going out there, and you guys don't know how much I appreciate it, making that thing work with the taxpayers that got money invested in that property. We need to start seeing some revenue come back. So thank y'all for that. Just get that, and then Randy is gonna look, I hope, and check and see what he has to do in the future, because now paving is coming up, grass mowing's already started, even though it's just March, we're already having to mow. So Randy will just have to work with the road department or the water department when he starts having to cut some grass and all that there at the airport. I'm sure it's starting to come up a little bit, and I haven't been out there in 2 weeks. But other than that, I think everything's going pretty good, and hopefully we get out there and get some hangers built and get some asphalt laid down, and we can finish fixing the road where the little terminal is right now, and get all that laid to rest, and go forward. Other than that, I'm just glad to see something going on finally.
Request if the county has any fill dirt, clean fill dirt, they need a spot to put. You probably don't, but if you do, we'd love to have it at that north end of the airport to begin either staging and filling back there to level out for the runway extension in the future, all the way down the road. But
Yeah.
if there's dirt that needs to be put away, we've got a home for it.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at, I was gonna get with Mr. Everly over the fact that over there on the side next to the bargain barn, where I hope to build a parking ride, which FAA shot me down on that, I'd still like to get that filled in and leveled up where it can be maintained and mowed without tearing a bush hog all to pieces. Over the years, that's had rock dumped in and this, that, and the other. And if I can work out something with Mr. Everly where we can put in there without getting myself in trouble with EPD or DNR, would be nice to get that leveled up, get the mosquitoes out of there and get that smoothed up.
You could holding area for dirt to move in on that runway extension area as well.
Right.
Do you have to have some more dirt for that 500-foot extension that you keep talking about?
Yes.
Yes. We can solve both those issues at one time.
Well, if I had,
We can talk about that, because we can mold it. Anytime you're dealing with an acronym, you're gonna have, we can, yeah, because what we'll do drainage wise ultimately on the extension is utilize that area, so we can kind of look at it globally. And
Well, I got one citizen jumped me a while ago, he's got quite a few, I forgot how many tons of dirt to move, and then we've got some more dirt down around Tate that I've been requested if somebody needs some dirt to move down there, which I've got a few roads to fix and put some pipes in. We're gonna be using some of it, but we can come up with the dirt, this timing, get my guys freed up to haul it is the biggest thing. So,
When they're hauling and need a place to put it, keep
Airport.
us in mind.
yeah, well, we're trying, we just haven't had any extra dirt to put anywhere, and I would like to fill that in there next to the motel there, and smooth off, get some grass in there, and evidently DOT and FAA is not gonna let us make a parking right in there, but, at least we can keep it mowed and do something with it.
Keep building it up till it's even with the runway.
So you can't do anything with it, except make it look pretty.
No, I had money, actually, I had money set aside from the DOT to put a parking right in there till FAA shot us down, told me I couldn't even put a parking right in there.
How far do you have to be away to put it?
Well, essentially, you've grown to a point in your airport geometry and the type of aircraft that now that's not okay. But you'll be able to use it a different way related to the runway extension, so.
Put a park over there, they could make kids park or something.
50
Kind
years,
of-
but
I do that,
yeah.
Yeah. Kind of for drainage wise, we can utilize it in a way that will be really beneficial.
Fixing to become a big retention pond.
That's what I'm hearing.
No,
So
reservoir.
Randy talks.
It's up to me to be a controlled burn right there,
Mhm.
the entire north end. Just saying.
But other than that, we're fixed, the audit's fixed to get cranked up here, 1st of April, latter part of March. And get that done for the county, which y'all are involved in that, to a small extent, but y'all are involved in that. Other than that, that's pretty well, got everything ready to rock and roll for summer. And we're just gonna pay if we can. Got a lot going on, a lot of stuff to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any other old business that we hadn't already discussed? Any new business?
For us? Okay. I'd be interested in knowing the usages of the new FBO. Have you designated certain rooms or certain things for pilots and people coming in?
We've talked about that you need a general reception space, if you will. Having a pilot rest area, having a pre-flight room, several office spaces that could potentially include space to lease out to outside entities. So we begin just talking about the space utilization. So we really haven't gotten very deep into it on the specifics.
Will you be polling pilots and airplanes out there? I fly around quite a bit in our business, and there are FBOs that I've gone to that are very impressive, that have, there's a small one in Smyrna, Tennessee, that has
Been there.
a good conference room, that if I wanted to come in and hold meetings there, that they're,
And we would have a conference room in there where we could hold this meeting, in fact.
okay.
But there was, what we talked about was conference rooms and the need for that. And depending upon the size, we think we need there, so.
I just didn't know if you were getting outside influence from.
We get a lot of it from the table over at the airport quite a bit, so a lot of it comes through the discussions right there, so. But yeah, I'm happy to take comments and thoughts on some of the features that should be in there. So happy to talk with you on that.
Do you plan any bunks in there?
No, not bunks, more just the rest area with recliners and things in it. We've got a quiet room for transient pilots. Don't know if we need the bunks for overnight accommodations. We're not trying to be a hotel.
Right, there was, I can't remember where I was on the way back from Sun and Fun, but they had basically everything you said, a conference room and a quiet room, but they also had one small room, you know, it didn't have to be very wide, but had 2 bunks in it and a shower.
The shower, we will have a shower in the men's room and things. We want to have that set up in there.
Front
So
porch.
there's,
Women's room too?
yes, absolutely.
You can say women fly too.
No, but on the men's side, absolutely. Ladies as well, I agree with you. But on the bunk side, just the maintenance of that. Keeping the sheets clean and all that sort of thing, I don't think that's something we want to get into. You know, a recliner sitting in there for somebody to sleep in is one thing, but offering a bed for sleep, probably not gonna be on the wish list there.
Mm-mm.
So,
Randy said he already had a recliner picked up.
he's got one.
I got front porch and a sleeping bag. If they want to spend the night, won't be the first one to sleep out there.
No.
He's got a recliner. What does he need two for?
All right, anything else?
Windsock. My new pole, what's that?
You were waiting for the reimbursement on the
Why, yeah.
weekend?
I heard
That's
that
come
happen.
now to the county?
You had? We've been reimbursed already? It's in our account?
You,
Not yet showing in our account.
correct,
Ah.
you made the request, they authorized it, and so as soon as they confirms that it's in there, then you're teed up to go back to further Wayne County. We'll
Outstanding.
follow up with that.
Thank you.
You had that, that was written in the last grant, and it was available to draw, so she should have it, but we'll follow up with a check.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Squeaky wheel.
I think that was,
Dang right, buddy.
I think that was January when the draw was made.
You heard anything from Dalton, Blairsville, and Calhoun about building T-hangers? Dalton Airport's building 6 T-hangers and 2 box. Blairsville and Calhoun the process. Are you doing the design for those 3 airfields?
One of the things for like Calhoun, for example, is they have a lot of porta ports out there that have to be relocated, so some of that's to get those folks have a home, so they have to leave the field. There's a space where those things are sitting, can be utilized for some other things.
Oh, 10-4. Thank you.
And that's similar to what the other, for the other ones, just waiting list that they're scrubbing off, that they're, the support level that you'll have continuously is much different.
So we're farther down the road in development than they are?
You know, you bid yours, yeah, so, but you'll
We're
you'll
also closer
continue
to
to
the
draw.
metropolitan
Yeah,
area.
so.
Yes.
So our draw's gonna be different than that, and, you know, the Dalton will draw from Chattanooga.
Oh,
Those are-
Not from where we are.
That's
here.
correct.
Our
Your
service area.
And Dalton is, as you know, is off the interstate way back, you know,
True.
that's tough for them, but that is a different batch you're drawing.
Thank you.
What's happening with the Elliott Field project? Is that moving forward for FAA grant and county or city ownership over there? And
Yeah,
Still-
it'll just take, it'll take a while. Yeah, but they're drawing, so that's an interesting thing, you look at that too. So they're really drawing 400 corridors where they would draw from that one, so I'm pretty sure you have the cap. But that's a lot of paperwork, it'll just take a long time.
years yet to come. Very good.
All right, any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So motion.
All in favor of it?
Yay.
Thank y'all very much. Appreciate everybody coming.
June the 11th is the next meeting.
Yes, June.